Welcome to the Whisky Explorer. Thanks so much for tuning in for another episode, guys. And if this is your first time on the channel, if you could please do us a quick favor, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave us a comment down below, let us know what you think about this blended scotch here, and we'll continue the conversation at the Whisky Explorer. And tonight, guys, we're going to be diving in and exploring Black Bottle Blended Scotch Whiskey. Alright guys, so this is a blended Scotch whiskey. It's definitely a bit of a budget pour for sure. It runs about $36.99 Canadian here in BC, but I actually did some research and in Ontario it's a lot cheaper. It's actually about $31 in Ontario, so you know, save $6 or $7 on that, give or take, depending on what they charge for tax, of course, in Ontario. I don't actually know that offhand. But yeah, so it's a bit of a budget blended scotch. It combines both a malt and grain whiskeys together in there. And I was actually reminded about this whiskey by the Whiskey Neighbor. So if you'd like to get someone else's take on this whiskey, definitely head over to the Whiskey Neighbor's channel. He's always putting out lots of great content and he does awesome reviews as well. So this was actually quite a famous and beloved blended whiskey that included lots of Islay malts back in the day. So right around the 1990s there was a change in ownership, and it was, I believe it was Aberdeen Distillers owned it for some time, and they did a lot to restore the Black Bottle brand, and it got kind of like this cult following, and it was kind of like this well-kept secret in whiskey that you could get a very affordable blended scotch that had a lot of Islay single malts in it. But unfortunately that is not the version we have before us today. So there was actually a change in ownership to Burn Stewart. So this actually says Gordon Graham's Black Bottle, but as far as I could tell on my research, Burn Stewart owns this one. And in their iteration that they moved back to this actual Black Bottle, so that old Islay one, the one that had the nice Islay malts in it, that was actually in a green bottle. And it was kind of like this still shape, so it was a very kind of, I'll put a picture up here on the screen for you guys so you can see. It was a really cool kind of bottle shape and very different looking than this actual version we have now today. They decided to go back to the Black Bottle, which is what it was originally around war times, bottled in the black glass. But in this return to this blend, it's a lot more of Speyside and Highland malts. So they say on their website that it's a blend of Speyside, Islay, and Highland scotches. So we'll dive into it here, let you guys know what I think about the Black Bottle. Sadly, this is bottled at 40% ABV, and you guys probably all know my feelings on that. Not big on 40% ABV whiskeys. I just don't find there's enough flavor or punch to it to kind of deliver what I'm hoping to get out of a whiskey. This one here is, yeah, it's very affordable, so we'll kind of see how that is. It is a screw top cap there, and you know, it's kind of an interesting looking bottle being it's the black glass. I kind of get frustrated because then you have no idea really where your whiskey level is on that, so kind of a knock against it there. But let's get in the actual whiskey itself. Alright, let's take a look at the color in the glass here, and most certainly this is chill filtered and colored, so not too much we can kind of tell from that. I mean, it does have kind of an inviting kind of light amber, kind of a like light copper tone to it. So let's go in for a nose on this. Cheers. This is actually kind of an inviting nose. It's very fruity on the nose. Almost getting that fruit cup vibe to it. So there is like fresh pear, some orchard fruit, maybe like some apple in there, like a very like sweet, ripe red apple of some kind. There's also a little bit of cherry in there as well, so again, kind of getting back to that fruit cup. It's kind of that mixture of fruits, very sweet on the nose, very inviting on the nose. I will say though, there is something almost artificial smelling to this, so it's like maybe like fruit candy or some kind of artificial note that's playing in the background there. Almost doesn't smell like real fruit in a way. I don't know if that's probably hard to kind of grasp, but That's sort of what I get. Like there's also this overlying sweetness, like a butterscotch toffee thing that also feels a bit artificial. Hint of ethanol peeking in the back there. Lots of vanilla as well, like almost like a vanilla custard on the nose. It is kind of a nice nose, but it is nondescript. It's like, I really struggling with this to kind of like, I know I did mention some notes there, but it's overall just kind of sweet, fruity, toffee, a little artificial smelling. Let's go in for a taste. Cheers. Well, I will say for this dram, the nose delivers way more than the palate. The palate is flat and very thin and very one-dimensional. So I was hoping that from the nose I would get a blast of that fruit, because the fruit was the absolute dominant note on the nose. Like that was really, actually in some ways, sort of pleasant, but sort of struggled with it a bit because it was like artificial smelling. But I would have loved for those fruit flavors to come through, like if there was a crush of like fresh pear or orchard fruits that blasted you and welcomed you on the palate. That would be very inviting, but it's just not there. It's like one-dimensional, a little bit of butterscotch, a little bit of sweetness, quite a astringent and bitter grain note on the mid-palate and finish as well. Let's go in for a quick second sip here. Cheers. Okay, so there is a very slight smokiness to this whiskey. It really plays in the end of the palate and the finish, but it is fairly nondescript as well. It's just not, because I think because it's 40%, it's very thin, doesn't coat at all, as you'd expect. And, you know, we kind of have to forgive that a little bit based on price point and what this is aimed at. This is not, you know, for the connoisseur. This is not for someone who goes out and really seeks a really nice, well-rounded, you know, single malt. This is a blended Scotch, and it plays in that category. So, you know, 36, 37 bucks. There isn't really much else you can even really compare it to in that. I would say for my taste and my palate and preference, if I'm going to spend the 37, 38 bucks, I would rather spend a few dollars more, and I'd rather get the Naked Grouse. I think is a good, because it's all blended malt and it's 43%, and you have some Highland Park and some Macallan, some other good single malts in there. This I would definitely not purchase again. Definitely has like an astringent kind of bitter note on the back end. It's just not super pleasing. So I would go ahead and give this one a pass if you're a seasoned whiskey drinker. I don't think you're going to find much in here to hold your attention. Yeah, so that's sort of my take on it, guys. I hope that helps you with your purchase making decisions. Until next time, may your sails be full and your drowns be fuller. Cheers.